Agassi and Patrick Rafter. Rafter, number 3 seed. Andre Agassi unseeded after his dismal year last year. Live coverage. This is the second point of the match. Rafter serving 15 love. Rafter in this game.
Well, Andre Agassi expecting that serve. That's Rafter's go-to serve, that kicker out wide. On the second serve, though, Agassi is able to step in, take it early. Of course, ranked number 40 right now. Of course, he was number 1 back in '95.
27-year-old. He's been out here for more than 10 years on the tour, actually. A long time.
His record this year, 18-2, best record on tour.
You know, when you think about it, Patrick, your brother, he retired relatively early, the first time anyway, and then tried to make a comeback. And a guy like Bjorn Borg retired at about 26, 27, remember? Patrick Rafter's 25. Pembroke, Bermuda is where he calls home. Mount Isa is where he was born in Australia. Ranked number 3.
His record this year, 13-5, made a couple semifinals. Not been in a final this year yet, though, Rafter. A little bit cooler today than it was yesterday. It got pretty steamy out here, up around 90 on the court. Today it's high 70s. That's an excellent pickup there from Rafter. He went with the jammer serve right there. Agassi handled it well. Of course, the last meeting they played was the U.S. Open. That Rafter won 4 tight sets. That was a tight match right there. Agassi up 4-2 total. He's lost the last 2.
That's the match that I think really, when I saw Rafter beat Agassi, I thought he had a chance to win the US Open. Then he went on, beat Michael Chang, and then Greg Ruzetsky, and is the champ.
Well, he's hit every serve in this game to the Agassi backhand, where they're jamming him or going out wide. Agassi's on top of it right now. Rafter's going to have to mix his serves up a bit more.
Deuce, first game.
There he takes the first one out wide there. If he can get that wide serve going in the deuce court particularly, he can open the court up, and I think it's tougher for the Agassi forehand return. There's this serve versus return. Rafter is 87% of the service games he holds serve, and Agassi is 33% on the return. You can see both guys way up on the rankings on that particular stat.
Yeah, what you got is a top 10 server against the top 10 returner. Great matchup.
Clarifies it, doesn't. There's a nice, that volley just way too short. And Agassi I watched Agassi, he didn't even have to hit it that far away from Rafter, just so much pace.
Deuce again.
All on a beeline right there. The thing about Rafter's serve is he doesn't have overwhelming power, but he mixes the speed so much. See that one, 108 miles per hour? He'll mix it up. It looks like the exact same toss. He can put a little more kick. He can go for the flat one up the middle. And he tries to kick her out wide. He really uses his serve in a lot of ways, Cliff, as a setup for those outstanding volleys.
He slipped on the court.
Well, hopefully he didn't twist an ankle a little bit there. Completely wrong-footed. And maybe he's walking it off, shaking it off a little bit. Rafter concerned. There's the forehand from Agassi. He's expecting the forehand back cross-court, and just, ooh, he may have pulled a little something in his groin there as well.
First game to Rafter. Live coverage of the Newsweek continues. Patrick Rafter, 1 game to love of Andre Agassi. Agassi to serve here in the first set, third round of this men's singles at the Newsweek Champions Cup. Take a quick look at the bottom section of the draw.
Well, there's a lot of Americans in that section of the draw. It's good to see for Davis Cup possibility. Jim Kerr, that great win over Bjorkman where he saved the 2 match points. Jan-Michael Gamble is playing outstanding tennis. Took out Clavet in straight sets. He also beat Philippoussis earlier. And of course, Agassi, Rafter right here in the other part of that draw. Rios is through already over the German Nicholas Kiefer. Routine win there. Tommy Haas, the other young German gun, against Peter Korda.
That Kiefer match was played, Kiefer and Rios played on this center court at 10 o'clock this morning local time, and wasn't really impressed with Kiefer. He wasn't firing on all cylinders at the end. Oh, that was close. Agassi gave him another look at a shot that he shouldn't have seen. 30 low.
I think Rafter really surprised Andre Agassi at the U.S. Open with the way he was able to retrieve so many balls and stay in so many points from the backcourt. Agassi realizes that he's going to have to be patient. Rafter does a little sneak attack there. Rafter's not going to hurt Agassi from the back of the court, but he's going to make him work. He's going to make him hit a lot of balls. Patrick Rafter is one of the best conditioned athletes in tennis. Agassi serve 87. That's an excellent sign for him to be tied for 6th on the tour. And Rafter, the return much lower than Agassi. It was 22%. Remember, Agassi had 33% of return games won. That just shows you how strong Agassi is on the return, and that Rafter could probably use a little work right there in the return game. But the fact that Agassi, Cliff, excuse me, is so high in the serve games won.
It is. That's impressive.
That's why he's leading the tour in match wins this year. Ooh, that's a ripper right there.
Good enough ripper to win the game, and it's 1 game more than the first.
Well, Rafter tries to chip and charge. He'll mix this in. You got to do something more. He keeps it pretty low, but Agassi, see, inside the baseline. The fact that Agassi's inside the baseline, so the ball doesn't get too low on him because it's dipping. With that slice, it's going to get even lower, and Agassi's able to take it early, essentially take it on the rise. If you could take a slice on the rise, Agassi can do that.
You were talking earlier, Patrick, about the fact that Rafter uses his serve to set up the volley. He also uses that approach shot, that chip shot, to set up the volley for him. Of course, that time it didn't work because Agassi hit the winner, but it's kind of a throwback to the old days, you know, of Lever and Rose Wall and the Australians that he so much admires. 15 low.
There's a perfect example of Rafter mixing his serves up, goes out wide on the first point. Good hard slice. That time he really took a lot off that. 100 miles per hour out wide, right on the line. He can really hit his targets.
It is so tough to pick which way he's going to go, and as you said earlier, Patrick, he's got a lot of different things that he can throw at you. He has also got a very good feel for directional change.
3 straight aces at 40 love.
It's also, in a certain sense, easier to play the way that Rafter plays because there's no question in his mind about what his objective is. He does stay back, as you've mentioned, and he can stay back, but generally he wants to get to the net ASAP. Game point.
Rafter was going to go for this slam dunk there at the last second, just decided to block it into the open court. Needs a tip from Pete Sampras right here. You see Sampras sky up. He gets a little bit of air time, but he just kind of massaged it. Didn't really snap the wrist. Still game point for the Australian. Ooh, that's some wicked serve right there.
Rafter holds on. It's 2 games to 1 on serve in the second. Agassi will serve with the sun behind him when we come back to this continuing live coverage of Rafter Agassi in the 3rd round of the Newsweek from Indian Wells. I look at the man that People magazine said is one of the top 10 sexiest men in the world, Patrick Rafter, and as a matter of fact, the only athlete in that category at the end of last year.
Weren't you on that list too, Cliff?
Maybe in years. I don't think People magazine published in those years, to tell you the truth. Andre Agassi did not make the list, apparently, but surprising for a few folks in that department. 2-1, Rafter, Agassi to serve.
Disagree with you slightly, Cliff, on the mentality of Rafter and maybe the way he plays. I think he really has to think about how he's going to get to net, which side he's going to approach on, the way he uses his serve, or the way he uses backhand slice right there, keeping it short in the court, making Agassi move up.
Well, I'm glad you disagree.
I'm entitled, right?
Yeah. Actually, I do not mean to say that that's all he's going to do, because as you've already seen, he's forced to stay back. You can't chip and charge on every shot in this game. Too many good ground strokers these days.
Agassi in a little bit of trouble now. Love 30. Really overhit that last forehand. There's that good wide serve that Agassi's been using so well. In both courts, Agassi tries to open the court up with the wide serve. There's Brad Gilbert, coach of Andre Agassi. Right, Dr. George Fareed is the Davis Cup doctor for the U.S. team. Here's Rafter looking to get in. That's an excellent shot right there. And what a scramble from Agassi. Had to take a hand off the racket. Two-handers never comfortable doing that. Big point early. Would have given Rafter 2 break points. Yeah,
that's well played. Game point Agassi. Patrick Rafter won the US Open at the end of last year. Semi-finalist also at the French. Don't forget that. He never thought he'd do that well on the clay. This year, semi-finalist in Sydney.
That really gave him that, propelled him, I think, that semi-final appearance at the French, Cliff. It gave him so much confidence, Rafter, that he could do it in a big tournament. And also, as you said, no one expected him to do that well on the clay. Everyone said, well, he's going to do well at Wimbledon or maybe on a hard court. Kind of like Andre Agassi winning his first major on one at Wimbledon. No one expected Agassi to come through and win his first Grand Slam on the grass. It gave Rafter a lot of confidence that he carried into the summer season. Played so well, and of course the amazing run at the US Open. Game point Agassi.
So he holds on, and it is 2-game draw. Yeah, I remember him saying something. I'm looking for the quote, actually, but I'll find it eventually. But Rafter said things like, before the French, he said, you know, I certainly don't think I can win it. Then when he got to the semi-final, he said, I'm not going to say stuff like that anymore.
Right.
Because I obviously was very close to winning. I mean, wasn't Berrettini who took him out at the French. It was Berrettini who beat him at this year's Australian Open after he had beaten Berrettini in Sydney. That was, of course, a big disappointment. Beautiful match by Berrettini that day. But it was Bruguera who beat him at the French.
It was a tight 4-set match that Rafter very nearly took to the 5th set. Oh, great hustle from Agassi. That shows he's on top of it. He's moving well and quickly. Getting off the mark very quickly right here, because Rafter had the whole court. And you see Agassi just a couple quick steps, and he's able to get the second hand on the racket and flick it. You got to be able to be quick to get the 2 hands on it. Pushes it into the open court. right there, both players. Great return by Agassi. Picture perfect first volley from Patrick Rafter right there. Forehand volley deep. Then he sets up this back and he pushes that deep. Agassi does well to push that down the line, and Rafter's all over it. Great anticipation and net, the Australian. 5 aces already for Rafter. He knows he has to take his game up another level right here, and it seems like this match is heading in that direction. Both players on top of it early.
Double fault serving into the sun, 30-all. Patrick Rafter ranked number 62 at the beginning of last year, and in a way the similarly telegenic Mark Philippoussis from Australia was in the headlines there more than Rafter. And then things turned around at the French and US Open. Rafter is now the big hero in Australia.
Sun right there, Cliff. We're talking about it all week, and it really caused Rafter to just push this overhead right here. So he's getting ready, just completely loses it in the sun, bricks that one, and then Agassi smartly goes right at Rafter with some big heat. The glare from Rafter from the sun was still in his eyes, I'm sure. No chance on that volley. Break point for Agassi.
Double fault, that's the second of the game, wasn't it? And Andre Agassi gets the break. 3-2 first set against Patrick Rafter, the US Open champ. 7,500 people in the stadium before this thing is over. It's the Newsweek Champions Cup, and Andre Agassi with a break to serve leads 3-2 in the first set.
No golf pun intended there. Yeah, Jack loves tennis, doesn't he? We got to get him out on the courts with us a little bit. Agassi again using that wide serve there to open the court up. We'll get the return back with a little mustard on it. Agassi will crush it into the open court. Rafter, this probably the weakness in his game is the return of serve. The lines person called it out and then immediately corrected the call. Now they're wondering, Steve Ulrich, the chair umpire, wondering, are we going to play a let? Okay, we're going to replay the point. So think about it for a second.
I got to go with her. I got to go. It's close enough for her to decide.
Agassi agreed that the ball was in, but I think he obviously
the ball
thinks
bounced. He called out. He could have swung at it.
There's the
Steve Ulrich in the chair.
Block return from Rafter definitely hit the line and skidded. That perfect position by Agassi right there, getting ready for the forehand. And make sure of that one. So Rafter blocks the return back, likes to slice it, chip it back. Quite a few in play normally, but doesn't have much on it. Allows Agassi to dictate from the ground.
Agassi gets aggravated, and you've seen it over the years, but he handles it, I think, very well. I mean, he put a little bit of a smile on the thing as a postscript when it's all over. He doesn't bear grudges, Agassi.
Well, he has in the past let it affect his play, unquestionably, but now his motivation in his head is there, not to mention a little heat out wide. Big first serve there from Andre Agassi, third ace.
4 games to 2 first set.
Very easy hold there for Andre. 10 record for Agassi, just a bit over 500, and he's won his last 3 in a row. That was Sampras he beat in San Jose, Michael Chang. I'm trying to think of the third one. Maybe Kirten. Beat Gustavo Kirten in San Jose as well. He's right around top 10, isn't he, Cliff?
Yeah, I'm not sure he's top 10. Is he?
He's 10, I think, right now.
This is live coverage of the Newsweek Champions Cup that you're watching. Our feature match today, Patrick Rafter, Australia, taking on Andre Agassi. Agassi's got the break in the first set. It's 4-2. Cliff Drysdale here. Patrick McEnroe alongside.
Luke Jensen's out on the clubhouse court following Ruzetsky and Moya. 5-all in the second set. Ruzetsky won the first, 6-3. Definitely show a little bit of that.
Good steer down the line, and it's 15-all.
Really cups that forehand volley well, Rafter. Sometimes I think his backhand's got a little more stick on it. Forehand sometimes maybe cups it a little too much.
Yeah, he beat 3 top tenors in that one tournament.
That was in San Jose. He beat Kirten, Gustavo Kirten, and then he beat Chang in the semis and just crushed Pete Sampras in the final of that tournament about a month ago. And that's how he did it, by jumping on Sampras' second serve, just the way he's jumping on Rafter's right here.
And afterwards, he said he thought he could make his way back to #1 in the world after that win over Sampras. And you've got to remember that Sampras has always kept Agassi in his rear-view mirror, watching him carefully, even when he wasn't playing well. Off volley, and it's long.
There's no one in tennis that can hit that flick half volley the way Agassi did right there. The racket speed, the timing. Look at this. This ball is so deep, and Agassi just flicks at it. Gets a tremendous amount of pace on it. Look how the ball just comes off the ground. Unbelievable shot right there. Just went over the pace line. Rafter took note of that, believe me. Ooh, nice wide serve there. Ace number 6 for Rafter. The only thing right now that's keeping him in the match. He's having a lot of aces.
Game point, Rafter.
Sorry. Let's see where Agassi was already moving in, looking for that kick out wide, trying to take it early. Rafter saw that, made the adjustment, went into the body. Agassi just on top of that return.
What was it at the US Open, Patrick, that allowed Rafter to serve so well and to somehow blunt that return of Agassi's?
Well, I think the court's a little bit quicker at the US Open, #1. The conditions a little bit faster.
That helps. Deuce.
But also Agassi didn't have the belief then that he has now. I think he didn't have the hard work behind him that he has now, that he's done the last 3-4 months. And honestly, I don't think Rafter's volleying quite as well. And then I don't think it's possible to volley as well as he did at the US Open.
I think that's the key right there. Let's go to the clubhouse now as Rafter holds on. He's still a break down, 4-3. Agassi will serve, but Ruzetsky serving for the match. He won the first set 6-3. He's got 6-5 here in the second. This is Ruzetsky at the top of your screen, and Luke Jensen's out there. Luke, what's been going on?
Well, Cliff, I'm telling you, Greg Ruzetsky has really used his serve and volley game excellently. I mean, in the sense where he's overpowering the Spaniard. The Spaniard has no answers today. In the first set, he was dominated. Now, match point, it's over. Wait a second, overruled. Greg Ruzetsky actually is someone you've got to talk about in the thick of maybe a Grand Slam or a Mercedes Super 9 event.
Oh, now a ball comes rolling on the court there, Luke.
I have no idea where that came from.
Ruzetsky thinks he's had the match won twice now.
So the man who lost to Patrick Rafter in the final of the US Open, still very much alive here. And as Luke Jensen says, keep your eye on this man because he is playing some very solid stuff. He's in the quarterfinals now of the Newsweek. It's 15-all in this game. Agassi serving. He's got the break in the first set, leading 4-3. Just by the way, Greg Rusedski now takes on the winner of the Bohdan Ulirak Thomas Enquist match. Neither one of them is seeded, but Ulirak took out Yevgeny Kafelnikov, the number 4 seed here.
Enquist is playing quite well this year. He's had 2 easy wins here. He beat Albert Costa yesterday, 4-3. Agassi's now won 13 out of 17 points when he gets his first serve in. That comes out to a percentage right there of 83%. Oh, first serve percentage, excuse me, 80% on the first serve, and he gets it in. He's a lot on the second serve, 67%. And that's probably the most important statistic to take right there. And even when he has to hit a second serve, he's winning the majority of those points. And that gives you a lot more confidence to go for your first serve. And Agassi's been doing that. He's really going for his first serves today.
Game point.
Yeah, 128 for Agassi. It's a big bomb right there.
5-3 Agassi. He can clip them.
Man, he dropped a big one right there. I was confident right there. Up 40-15. That's the time to go for it. Just let it rip a little bit. Get the cheap point. After been struggling on serve. Just hold here to just stay in the set.
Well, that's nice. I mean, that is a very, maybe the toughest volley to make, that one above your left shoulder. Watch this.
There's Rafter again with the wide serve and gets that high one up there. Does a little 360. Like a dancer there.
Acrobat.
Rafter just says, where'd that lead come from? I hit a kick that was about 6 feet over the net, I thought. He just shrugs his shoulders a little bit.
Well, it's that electronic thing now that calls the lets, not the guys with their fingers and listening and looking for it.
And helmets. They started wearing helmets, remember, at Wimbledon?
Yeah, yeah. Protection. Remember that match these two played back in '95 in the 4th round of the Australian Open? Boy, talk about ratings. Everybody in Australia was watching that match. It was a Sunday night, as I remember. Agassi just destroyed Rafter. Made him look like a beginner.
I'll tell you, Agassi was really looking forward to a rematch with Patrick Rafter at the Australian Open. And I think he, as well as most of the players and media, were shocked that Rafter lost to Berasategui. And I think maybe Agassi just went into that match with Berasategui not quite taking him as seriously as he should have. And although he was up 2-0 and really in control of that match, Cliff, he really let it slip away, I think. I think Agassi learned a tough lesson from that match. I don't think he's going to let that happen again. You mentioned he hasn't lost a match since then, so I think he's kind of taking it all in. A ripper backhand there. He hitting the ball so clean, he doesn't even have to go for the lines. So much pace. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes. Set point for Agassi coming up.
Again, blocking the return back, forcing Rafter to hit a half volley right there. And then look at this roller, pretty deep half volley, and Agassi, perfect preparation. Look, gets from way under the ball, and he jumps backwards, keeps moving. He says, yep, that was well in. Set point.
Agassi breaks twice in the first set against the US Open champ, Australia's Patrick Rafter, and he wins it easily 6-3. Live coverage, game 1, set 2, and we come back. The serve is such an important element of especially Patrick Rafter's game. Take a look on the right of your screen for Andre Agassi, this full swing that he makes on the ball. The left arm goes up as he throws the ball up. Now, freeze it right there, guys. You see how the left arm is up, and you see how there's a delay here in this racket. Now, let it go through. Now he takes the full swing. The racket gets behind his head. The momentum is going forward. His eyes on the ball comes down. He makes contact, and that's where he gets his power from. Rafter, on the other hand, just take a look at this. These arms will go up together here. Do you see how they go up together? Still going up together. Look at that. Now at this stage, you can see that where he generates his power is that the racket gets behind his head, just like it does. Keep it going, right there. So this is where his power zone begins, right there. You see how he's full shoulder turn into the ball, and that is the power of the Australian serve, albeit that he doesn't have the full swing that Agassi has. First point, second set you watch. But the serve of Rafter so far, Patrick, has been blunted by Agassi's return.
And he served fairly well, actually. It's like he had quite a few aces in that first set. Agassi is just on top of his game and on top of the return. Rafter, to me, just seems to be just a little bit questioning, as you intimated earlier, Cliff, what to do. First serve percentage. Look at that for Agassi. Yeah, 87%. Disheartening for Rafter, too, because he saw his service percentage 69%, which is excellent for a guy who serves as big as he does, and he's lost serve twice. Ouch.
Help me out with this. How many break points did Agassi, how many break points, rather, did Rafter have in that first set? None at all. Zero. Kirk Douglas watching. Kirk Douglas is a big tennis fan. He lives out here, spends a lot of time in the desert anyway. I remember seeing him out here in the NCAA, and he was watching that as well. 30-15.
Getting tremendous angle there, content to stay in the rally, not go for too much. He knows Rafter can't hurt him. And because he's done all the hard work and because he's fit and has confidence, he doesn't feel like he has to go for big shots. So just continue to rally. If he sees the opening, he'll take it. Otherwise, just play consistent baseline tennis.
Game point, Agassi. Agassi is looking very strong now against the world's #3 in the US Open champ. In the first set, it was all Agassi. He won 2 breaks of serve against Patrick Rafter of Australia. This tournament, the big story under Agassi in the women's division, the biggest story is the return of Steffi Graf of Germany, former #1 in the world, and Lindsay Davenport, the defending champion of the State Farm Everett Cup. And tonight you can see them battle against each other. Graf and Davenport in the semi-final at 11 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN2. Rafter handled that overhead a bit better. Meanwhile, Luke Jensen has made his way here from the grandstand court to the stadium. Hi, Luke.
Hey, Cliffy. You can really tell that Andre Agassi is right behind the ball. Every time he sets up, he's moving forward. Except for a big monster serve.
Well, Luke, that's really been the only thing that's kept Rafter even slightly in this match. He served real well. He's had a lot of aces.
And a high service first serve percentage.
He's still gotten broken twice, so what do you think he feels?
Patrick, I think when you go in to play Andre Agassi, you know you're going to get broken. The key is to see how many times you can break Andre Agassi. Well, he is going to get you.
Yeah, and Agassi's first serve percentage, Luke, is up in the 80s. Serving exceptionally well so far.
Well, the other keys for Rafter is not to try to do too much on the serve and serve too many doubles. I mean, you tend to do that because of the return of Agassi. Luke, listen to this quote from Patrick Rafter after he won the U.S. Open. He said, when I actually think about it more and more, it's like, this is crazy. I've won Manchester and the U.S. Open. It's like the Jensens or something. I've won 2 tournaments in my life, and one of them's the Open.
It's the long hair. Everything has to do with the long hair.
You and that wild and crazy brother of yours winning the French Championships, a Grand Slam title. 1 game all in a second here. 6-3, Agassi first.
Rafter man was really building up to that, though. He had reached a number of finals. And of course, we're talking about the semifinals at the French Open, but he reached the finals of St. Polten the week before the French. He reached the finals of the Long Island event the week before the U.S. Open. So he had really built a lot of momentum.
He was there. The other end.
Right at his feet. That's only the 6th point of the match that Agassi's lost on serve. Just dominating his service games. Patrick Rafter, talk about his year last year. Luke on Fuego last year, Open champ, French semifinals, 6 finals. Philly indoors, Hong Kong, St. Polten, New Haven, Long Island, and the Grand Slam Cup. Big money making tournament, that one where Pete Sampras beat him in the finals there.
Sampras kind of made his mark on Rafter a couple of times, including the Davis Cup.
First double fault for Agassi there. Rafter now. Little window.
Of 30. .1530, as we mentioned before, Rafter has not had a break point on Agassi's serve yet.
There from Agassi. That was a very awkward return from Rafter. He completely mishit it, but it landed very, very short with a lot of backspin. Agassi had to get up to that and really get under that ball. Great movement there from Agassi. Look at the early racket preparation. Stumbles slightly. And racket control to be able to get under that ball. It's so low. 30 all now.
Oh, that's good. You know, that's anticipation again from Rafter. And he's got a break point for the first time in the match.
Well, that's the bluff approach right there from Rafter that worked because, as you said, his anticipation is so good at net. That ball was just sitting up in the middle of the court. Rafter guessed right, earns himself his first break point.
I think Patrick Rafter really had to come in on that second serve. He's not going to win from the backcourt just hitting that Chips Ahoy.
Deuce.
Excellent serve from Agassi, again going out wide on a big point. Skidding off the line, that one.
Rafter and most of his siblings is one of 9 children born in Mount Isa, which is an isolated inland copper mining city full of young families and sports facilities. Their dad, Jim, worked as an accountant there for 18 years. When Rafter was 7, the family moved to a farm north of Brisbane near the Sunshine Coast. A place called Umindi. There's a break point for Rafter again, and during his youth, his mom Jocelyn spent so much of her time shuttling him to practices and escorting him to junior tournaments and satellite events. I bet your mom says the same thing about your day.
She was happy when I got my license, I'll tell you that, because then she didn't have to drive me anywhere anymore. Second break point for Rafter. Ooh, what a serve from Agassi, his 4th ace.
119-mile-an-hour ace.
Really got his legs into that. We saw when we looked at that slow motion replay of the Agassi serve. Brad Gilbert says, I like that one. I knew you could do it all along, Andre.
Actually, here's a little interesting tidbit. Thomas Muster lives very close to them now there in Australia. The Rafters. Rafter, 2 games to 1 with a break in the second. He lost the first 6-3 to Andre Agassi of the USA.
Well, Cliff, we've been talking about Agassi using the serve. Let it go, guys. Well, Agassi uses the wide serve to set up play. Now, freeze it just when Rafter's about to hit it. Right here, freeze it. See where Rafter's outside court, right over here. Agassi then is standing right here inside the baseline. Okay, now let it go. And that brings Rafter outside the court. Look at all the room. Freeze it right here. Look at all the room that Agassi has to work with. All this court right here. Keep Rafter on the run. Let it roll. And then he gets Rafter on the move. Agassi uses this in both courts. And then you see, let it roll one more shot right here. And then Agassi continuing now. He's just in an offensive position. That's the way he creates opportunities for himself. That Rafter stayed in that point there. That's what Agassi does. He gets you out wide, and then he goes to the open court quickly. The key being there, Cliff, that he takes the ball well inside the baseline.
Excellent call, and that's exactly his strategy. 2-1 Rafter, though, has got the break in the second. Oh! Tell you what, he's down, but that was because he was so surprised by that play from Agassi, and so was I. I mean, you can't help but wonder what shot Agassi's going to come up. Just take a look at that right there, and he's on his feet. And now he's not.
Looking to scramble right into the net, always trying to move forward. He does a little stutter step. That's the split step that you take right before your opponent hits the shot. Little split step right there. Just loses his footing. Great disguise from Agassi.
Love 15.
It's different from the last topspin lob that Agassi hit. The last one, remember, he had a lot of time and he really rolled it. And the last one, he just kind of bunted it over, a la Jimmy Connors used to do.
More like a steer, actually. 15 all. To me, this is simply the greatest matchup in tennis, these two. They have a contrast in styles, but their personalities are what really makes this thing. I mean, they are world famous, not just for tennis, but tennis is what's made them famous, but these are world celebrities, both of them. Rafter, Agassi. You're watching live coverage of the Newsweek Champions Cup, everyone. Luke Jensen at courtside, Patrick McEnroe next to me. I'm Cliff Drysdale. Glad you're here. You're watching these two in the third round of the Newsweek Champions Cup. They're trying to get to the last 8 in this first Mercedes Super 9 of the year.
Ooh. Oh, my goodness. Talk about just unloading. First the return, tremendous pace. Rafter just to get his racket, and Agassi, look, lines it up. And just, that's the old John Daly, grip it and rip it.
Talk about grip it and ripping. That's exactly what Rafter tried to do then, but anticipated perfectly by Agassi, who was standing there waiting for it.
Well, look at the timing here from Agassi. The ball sits up, and it's up around shoulder height. And to be able to generate that much pace off that shot right there, just phenomenal.
Deuce.
Rafter's got to be knocking himself in the head. A routine service game, and now all of a sudden, back to deuce. Beautiful return from Agassi. He was sitting on that one out wide. He knows Rafter likes to use that one too. Agassi actually cheats a little bit to the middle, but he recovers. Look how far inside the baseline he is. And Rafter, ball just comes back too early after behind the service line. Break point Agassi.
That is really extraordinary stuff from Agassi. That's 118. Can we see that, the return to serve again? I mean, 118-mile-an-hour serve, and he looks like he's got all the time in the world. Patrick?
Well, then he sets up here for the couple passing shots, and Rafter's just sit and duck up there. Agassi realizes the importance of getting that quick break back. Some intimidating tennis right there from Andre Agassi. Sorry, but that's a first ground stroke winner, I believe, for Patrick Rafter off the ground. Got some nice angle on that forehand.
This is like a swashbuckling pirate taking on the samurai. This
is called taking it out of third gear and putting it into fourth. It's a real shot that this match could go into 5th gear pretty soon, the way these guys are battling right now early in this 2nd set.
You talk about gears, Patrick. What it boils down to is that they both know that they are going to have to play well to win. Neither one of these guys is going to go down in flames.
And they're both really picking it up here after letting Agassi back in that last service game. Agassi a couple of huge shots. Rafter getting 3 outstanding baseline points in a row. Earns himself triple break point.
This would be a 3rd straight service break if it happens. There it is, and it's Rafter who has the break again. He'll serve, leading 3-2 in the 2nd. He lost the first 6-3 to Andre Agassi of the U.S. Newsweek Champions Cup, everyone. 3rd round, Andre Agassi, Patrick Rafter. Agassi winning the first behind 2 breaks of serve. Rafter now has got the break earlier today. Marcelo Rios, the Australian Open finalist in the singles. He took on Nicholas Kiefer, the top player from Germany now, the youngster that they hope is going to take the place of Boris Becker. Well, he didn't look that good today against Marcelo Rios, the magician from Chile. It was Rios 6-4 and 6-3. He's still very much alive in this tournament, and don't count him out in any event that he plays, because the guy is brilliant.
It's tough shoes to fill if you're trying to fill Boris Becker's, and you kind of intimated there, Cliff, that Kiefer maybe didn't give it his best effort as that match went on, and I think he's just mentally not that strong right now. Enquist straight sets over Ullrich. As I said, Enquist is playing excellent. Ullrich, the defending finalist here. And Greg Ruzetsky is through over Carlos Moya, 6-3, 7-5.
Ullrich took out Kafelnikov, who will, we now know, play Davis Cup for Russia against the U.S., and that's not good news for the U.S.
No, and apparently this 17-year-old Marat Safin is quite a specimen, and he's gonna, I think he's gonna play the other singles for the Russians.
We know that Andre Agassi is going to play for the U.S. in that Davis Cup tie. Who will join him in the singles is a question mark. Who will play the doubles is a question mark.
Can you have, how about 10 question marks for the doubles?
Tom Gullickson's going to have to answer those. U.S. Davis Cup captain. 30 love.
There's a 1-2 from Rafter, the wide serve, good forehand volley.
We're talking Davis Cup. Let's check the draw out. Believe me, this first round is not going to be easy. The H means a home match for the USA against Russia, and then you've got Belgium at home to the Netherlands, Australia at home to Zimbabwe, and India playing in Italy.
The Italians playing on the red clay over in Italy. 4-2 now, Rafter.
You have to go pretty far south to enjoy some good weather at this time of the year over there in Italy.
Somehow I think they'll
That's
go
what they'll
somewhere
do.
south. Yeah.
Remember Sicily a couple of years ago? U.S. and Italy.
See, this is what I was talking about Patrick Rafter at the beginning of this match, that even though Rafter wasn't, I don't think he's playing as well as he did last year, he is an intense competitor, and he will always hang in there, and he will fight and claw his way in every single match. And that's what he's doing right now to get back into this. Because Agassi was clearly outplaying him in the first set. Brad Gilbert.
He's another one who has learned to enjoy the battle, isn't he? Kind of like a Jim Courier yesterday. What an effort from him. Down 5-3, down match points, and he came back and won.
I think Courier continues to play well. 5th ace for Agassi there. He squeaked that match out against Bjorkman. Could be a tough match for Courier today against Gamble. Maybe Gamble should be someone that's considered. Like he's going to be a practice partner. He's playing as well as any number of the other American players that have been mentioned. Jim Courier, Todd Martin is struggling a bit.
Game point here for Agassi. It would be, talk about a gamble. It would be a gamble putting Gamble in.
That would. Sure.
Game point Agassi.
But maybe a gamble worth taking.
Oh boy, we are going to take him to the Davis Cup, that's for sure. Whether he's going to play or not, we'll find out. Meanwhile, Rafter over Agassi. It'll break in the second. There in them Santa Rosa Mountains. Andre Agassi, though, is hot down here, having won the first set, but he's behind. A break in the second, 4-3. Now, can Patrick Rafter hang on? He's in front with a break. The sun is behind him. He's 2 points, 2 games rather away from winning the second set. He's down 1 set.
Excuse me, Cliff, he holds up the new balls. He's been into net quite a few times, but he hasn't been that successful up there. 15-37. It's not a good percentage for the Australian. The one game that he broke, Agassi hit some big ground strokes. That got him 1 break. Just a break he's needed here in the second set. Did exchange breaks earlier. Agassi starting to get a little bit perturbed there. An excellent return, but Rafter.
Excellent. Soft volley pickup. Game points for the Australian.
Luke, any sense down there that Agassi maybe just getting slightly unnerved?
Just in the sense where Rafter is just coming up with some great half volleys, some big serves, and Agassi can't seem to really claw his way back into the second set.
Luke, is Rafter the best volleyer in tennis today?
I think he is ever since Edberg retired. He's kind of taken the Edberg #1 ranking in that category, because he closes so tight on the net. He's so aggressive when the ball gets up on him.
Just double fault for Rafter.
And he really reminds me of like a tailback charging into the hole. He really hits that serve and charges to the net. Very strong, very powerful.
We were talking about it the other day, Patrick, when you talked about the pressure that he keeps on an opponent by boring into the net all the time.
Late call there, and then overruled by the chair umpire, and Agassi not too pleased with that decision.
See if we can hear what Agassi says.
That's a shocker right there, because I would have lost it had she not even made that call. Like, what kind of call is that?
I don't know. I thought
The ball was so far out, if she had missed it, I would expect to be overruled.
Hey guys, even Brad Gilbert's upset. You know how when he played, he used to have a word with the umpires.
There's the lines lady in the line of fire.
Now, did she called it late, and then it was overruled?
No, it was out. Agassi's saying if she hadn't made the call, he wanted to overrule that.
Rafter holds on when all is said and done, and it's 5-3. He's 1 game away now from leveling this match at 1 set all. Agassi to serve into the sun.
12 aces for Rafter.
Now this is a big game. If Agassi can hold here, then he's going to get a shot at Rafter serving into the sun.
Agassi was asked yesterday which of the remaining players that he'd like to play in the draw. He said Steffi Graf in a pair of high-heeled shoes. And then they said, well, how about the men's division? He said, Pete Sampras if he played in high-heeled shoes.
You'd like to see that too, huh?
Love 15.
Ooh. Nice hitting there, Rafter. Had success with it down the line forehand the first point. Tries it again here, this time on the approach off the rally. It's a sneak in, but Agassi's there in time and just flicks it. See Rafter expecting that dipper cross court. Backhand winners for Agassi. Very safe on that two-handed side.
1930, 2 points away.
That's the pressure right there, Cliff. Excellent approach, right down the middle, deep.
That second serve wasn't short. It was close to the line. And Rafter was really leaning in on that backhand slice.
Oh, he's really come over a couple forehand returns in this game, Cliff. Instead of trying to slice, he's gone after the ball a little bit. He's blocked it, some come over it. He did that on the first point, clean winner.
2 set points. The set is over. I tell you, that is great volleying. Again, that's the kind of volleying you saw from Patrick Rafter at the US Open when he beat Andre Agassi. Agassi said afterwards what he needed to learn was to lose 15 pounds, and he has. It's 1 set all. This is live coverage of the Newsweek Champions Cup. It has been so far an interesting day. 6-3 Agassi in the first set. Then Patrick Rafter comes right back and wins the second set 6-3. And in a way, Patrick, you said it. This guy does not mind getting in the heat of the battle. In fact, he enjoys it. And that's one of the pleasures of watching Patrick Rafter play.
Well, you know that he's going to give it all every time, no matter if he comes with his A game or his B game. And you see the first serve percentage, both very high. They both have more winners than unforced errors. That shows you the quality of the match. Rafter actually quite well ahead on winners and also less unforced errors. So he's really tightened his game up here. This is where Agassi's now is going to have to take his game up 1 level. Saw how Rafter changed things up in the second set. He started going after the return a bit more, flattened out a couple ground strokes. Let's see what Agassi tries to do.
Rafter serving into the sun here, love 15.
Oh, that's pinpoint accuracy right there.
Watch Agassi in this game because he knows how important it is with the sun against Rafter and a chance to break him in the first game. Look at this again.
Oh, that ball stayed low, but Agassi got under it beautifully. Excellent preparation.
Love 30. That sails, and Agassi's got 3 break points.
Well, Agassi's made an adjustment here on the return. He's not trying to go for the big, clean pounder. He's just bunting it down at the feet of Rafter. Making Rafter work and then picking him apart with the passing shot. Five of the 6 breaks in the match, Cliff, have come with this server serving on this side with the sun.
It's understandable.
Agassi's perfect 3 for 3. Make that 4 for 4.
And Agassi gets an easy break. It's 1-11. He jogs to the sideline in the second set. Patrick Rafter, having lost the first behind 2 breaks, came right back. Patrick Rafter's win at the US Open was his scrambling ability and his ability to half volley and to volley. Here's a look at this very difficult half volley after the serve. Watch him get over to this ball. It is just about out of reach. And as you see here, his racket head is still virtually parallel to the ground. He's not letting the racket head get below the wrist. And that's a brilliant play from him. He's an artist when it comes to shots like that.
Rafter tried to give Agassi a little taste of his own medicine there, going with the bullet right at him, but Rafter doesn't really have that shot the way Agassi does.
Down a break. 1 game to love in the 3rd.
And guys, I think Andre Agassi wouldn't have had that shot 6 months ago. He's been working on that footwork. And a couple times this match, you've seen him really explode to a couple of odd shots and win the points.
He's really getting off the mark. So much better, Luke, than he did, say, last year at the U.S. Open. It's because he's fresher. He knows he's fit. He knows he can stay out there as long as he has to.
And I think another thing you have to think about is the mental toughness. I mean, after losing the 2nd set, I mean, he came back and really took the momentum back into his court. Is now up a break and really sticking it to the Aussie.
Agassi traveling with Brad Gilbert and Patrick Rafter, not traveling with anybody at the moment. Tony Roach gives him a little bit of help. He's here. Muddy Waters is like his trainer. And his brother Peter is here as well. Older brother Peter. He's one of 9 children.
Well, Rafter really says that when he started to go out on his own more and take some advice here and there from guys. John Fitzgerald, a great Australian doubles player, gave him a little help last year. Rafter started to have more confidence in himself, more confidence in his own ability to be out there on the tour full-time, to work hard. I was with him practicing a couple times out in the Los Angeles tournament last summer. He's out there early in the morning, just hitting serves, working on things on his own. He's continuing that tradition of helping out the youngsters that the Australians have always done through the years. I saw him out the other day practicing with Leighton Hewitt. Right there, the 16-year-old Australian sensation who won in Adelaide earlier this year. Afterwards, out working with him with Tony Roach. There's that deep approach. And there's that volley that you're talking about, Cliff. Look at that technique. Just picture perfect. Right elbow up high, just sticking that.
Still game point for Agassi. Agassi holds on, and it's 2 games to love. Patrick, your point about the Australians, they've always had a good camaraderie between them. Of course, you know, when I was traveling in the 60s, late 60s and 70s as well, because the Australians, I used to see a lot of them as well, because we spend so much time away from home. When you're from Australia, it's not the kind of place you can slip back to for the weekend. There's a look at them. Patrick Rafter at number 3. Philippoussis is up there. I mean, they've got some solid players, you know. It's not just Rafter and Philippoussis. Look behind them, too.
Of course, both the Woodies in there, and Jason Stoltenberg reached the finals in Scottsdale. And there's Leighton Hewitt, number 10 at 174 right now. He got a wild card here, went out early. He's going to be a sensational player, I think, as he showed. He beat Agassi in Adelaide this year. Just before the Australian Open and won that tournament.
Youngest player to win a tournament outside of Crickstein and Chang.
It's nice to see Rafter helping him out, taking him under his wing a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. This country is just so big, and, you know, you can fly back to Florida or California or Texas, wherever you live, New York. In your case, that's 6 now. Doubles.
Rafter needs this game right here. Not afford to get down double break here early in the 3rd. And he's serving from the good side right here, so he really needs to get this hold.
Another great example of the half volley that we just showed. He just gets down. It just reminds me so much of Pat Cash in Cash's vintage years.
You see Rafter getting low, as you said, Luke, and he keeps his legs low throughout the whole shot, keeps his balance, his center of gravity is low. Can't do much about that.
15-30, and as you pointed out, danger time here for Rafter. He's down a break. He needs this game.
Well, look again, Agassi cutting the angle off. That's what you do by taking the ball inside the baseline, but you got to have tremendous hand-eye coordination. No one has any better than Andre Agassi.
Second serve, 15-30, down 2 games to love, third set. Big moment for Rafter.
By the way, it's not just strictly hand-eye coordination from Agassi. Of course, that's been God-given, and that he's born with that. But he used to practice returning serve from a big machine that would fire balls at him from up top. His dad had at his house. Agassi would just work on that return.
Break points for Agassi.
Gilbert loves those numbers, those conversion ratios. Break points converted. There's Brad. He says it's the most important stat he believes in tennis. Agassi is taking advantage of all his opportunities today, Cliff.
He is looking good, isn't he? Agassi now with 2 breaks. 3-love in the third against Rafter. It's the Newsweek Champions Cup that you're watching live coverage this Thursday afternoon here in California, just after 1:30 in the afternoon. Cliff Drysdale here alongside Patrick McEnroe. Luke Jensen's at courtside. You're watching Andre Agassi and Patrick Rafter. Here's our own little version of March Madness. The Cinderellas, one from the USA, and then Nicholas Lepenti.
He was a lucky loser and took Michael Chang's spot in the draw and beat the guy who had beaten him in the qualifying.
Peter Porter likes to be called a heavyweight.
All those muscles he has. Sleeper Andre Agassi. I might have to move Agassi down into the heavyweight division after this match. I don't know if I can consider him a sleeper right now, the way he's on top of the ball.
3 games to love, Agassi, 2 breaks. Third set. Quick reminder, the winner of this one will take on the winner of Jim Courier against Jan-Michael Gamble.
You know, Cliff, I think we've been talking a lot about the guts of Patrick Rafter. I think Andre Agassi has shown a lot of guts in his comeback this year. You know, usually he plays a couple of loose points. In years past, he might have thrown a couple of games when he gets frustrated. But here, like in this third set, he lost the second and then really grabbed it again. Is not letting go.
You remember how much, or how often rather, he used to do that in his early days as a player. It's almost like he gave the second set away just so that he could show you how easily he could win the third. Of course, that hasn't happened for years.
As he dumps that forehand into the net there, an unforced error on the forehand. That's only his second of the match, unless the statistician is incredibly quick. Got that in. 9 errors already for Rafter. He played pretty clean tennis those first 2 sets, only made 13 errors total. Agassi quite a few more in that second set.
Well done, you know.
That is an incredible point right there, Cliff. Rafter, the fact that he was able to hang in that point. Agassi had him on the run, had his running shoes out. Rafter finally works his way into the net. Look at the flicker on that one. Agassi waits. He kind of waits the last second. He saw Rafter move slightly, and Rafter says, oh man, I put in some road work in that point. I got nothing to show for it.
You could see Rafter making his move. That's interesting, and Agassi picked it up. Good call. Game point, Agassi.
Not many players, Cliff, in the history of tennis that can do that well. Actually see their opponent and then change their shot. Shot right there, and that was left over from that last point when Rafter had to do all that running.
4 games to love, Agassi. By the way, Luke, I wanted to get back to one thing that you were saying earlier, and you're comparing Patrick Rafter with Pat Cash. I think it's a very good comparison. The only thing is, I think Rafter serves bigger than Cash, don't you?
I think so. Of course, I think the technology helps Rafter. It's a different, I mean, even though it hasn't been a many years, Rafter's might be a little bit stronger upper body. I mean, he's really worked on the weights and the off-court conditioning to really build himself. I think Cashy was more of just a physical, even though he got injured a lot. He was naturally gifted.
Oh, what a return right there from Agassi. He's won 17 of the last 21 points. This is in real danger of being a bagel right here for Rafter.
It's not that Rafter's playing bad. It's just Agassi has stepped it up.
After one of the times they played, actually, the Australian Open '95, Rafter was injured too for quite a long time. Persistent pain in his right wrist. It kept him out. It hurt him really for about 16 months.
Oh, what a stab right there. Look at the half volley pickup from Agassi right here.
Reflex.
Look at this. This is the reflex right here, the flicker, and then Rafter just sticks his racket out. Watch how quickly he's got to move. Man, that's a tough way to win a point. He hasn't won many in this third set. After that volley.
Eventually, Rafter underwent surgery to repair some torn cartilage in his wrist. And then I remember he came back maybe a little too quickly in the '96 Australian Open, lost in the second round that year. He also strained his ankle at one stage. That's why.
Remember, just before the U.S. Open last year, Rafter was complaining of persistent arm problems, shoulder and arm. It was very sore. In fact, right before the Open, he just didn't know how long he could last in the Open. But he had a couple easy matches early at the U.S. Open, got a little bit of rest. Next thing you know, he's a U.S. Open champ.
Game point. Rafter jogs to the sideline. Andre Agassi ambles over there. I think he's feeling pretty confident at this stage. 2 breaks, 4-1, and he'll serve. Everett Cup, an event that has really captured so many people's imaginations here. It was Martina Hingis yesterday. Conchita Martinez. Hingis very strong in the first set, no trouble at all, making it look very easy. In the second set, though, Conchita Martinez got out to a big start, 5 games to 1, before Martina Hingis made her comeback, 6 in a row. Look at this. As Hingis closes it out in the second set, 7-5. Hingis will now take on Venus Williams, a teenager from the USA. And tonight on ESPN2, Steffi Graf and Lindsay Davenport as the State Farm Everett Cup continues. You can see that on ESPN2 at 11 o'clock Eastern Time tonight.
How about that lineup right there? Cliff Hingis, Venus Williams, Steffi Graf, and Lindsay Davenport. And tonight, of course, Lindsay and Graf on the deuce. Boy, Rafter won the first point here, got into net and hit a forehand volley winner.
Agassi leading 4-1.
15 all now. I might just settle in tonight into my hotel room and watch you and Pam do that Graf and Davenport match. That's going to be something.
No extra charge for you, Pat.
Get the clicker out. I'll only click over to the hoops just on the commercial break. Don't worry. Agassi again using that wide serve well.
30-15.
Ooh. Have that one set up again by the good serve. Open the court up. Watch the way Agassi opens the court up here. And then the forehand. This was just a sit and duck for him, and he just took his eye off it ever so slightly.
All. Patrick Rafter is in a lot of trouble here. If he's going to break Agassi, this is the best time to do it with the sun in Agassi's eyes when he serves. It's game point for Agassi, 40-30, and he leads 4-1. Crisis time for the Australian.
In, but Agassi's been tough. He hasn't been to net that often, but he's won every point when he's been up there, 8 for 8.
Agassi leads 5-1. He's 1 game away from a place in the quarterfinals, and he will take on either Jim Courier or Jan-Michael Gamble of the USA, the 20-year-old from Washington State, who has had a great tournament so far. Gamble beating Mark Philippoussis and then Francisco Clavet. Clavet from Spain, Philippoussis from Australia. In fact, Agassi and Gamble have played twice already this year.
They played twice just in the last 4 weeks, and Gamble's given him 2 tough matches both times. And Gamble himself said, that's what's given me so much confidence, because I know Agassi's playing as well as he's played in a long time, and he's been able to match Agassi. And Agassi himself gave Gamble some words of encouragement after their match last week in Scottsdale. Said, keep it up, you're doing great. Gamble's done that. Be interesting to see if they meet again, if Gamble can upset Jim Courier. Either way, it's going to be a great match. If it's Courier, Agassi.
They have a long history, those two, yeah. Agassi. I mean, Courier's given Agassi problems all of his life.
Of course, Agassi continues to go on the path he's on right now. 13 aces for Rafter.
Well, if Agassi doesn't win this match, we'll be talking about it all the time. 5-1 up in the third. 15 all. 2 points from the match for Agassi.
Luke said he's going to do some Peter Porter scissor kicks down there if Rafter comes back and wins.
I don't have that flexibility, man.
Porter did a couple last night after his win over Scott Draper. I said, wow, he's starting early, just his first match. He's already doing the scissor kicks.
Textbook volley there from Patrick Rafter. Peter Porter takes on Tommy Haas now. Porter's the number 2 player in the world, the number 2 seed here. Tommy Haas from Germany.
Tommy Haas has been playing well consistently. Got to the semis in Scottsdale. Agassi beat him there. Semis in San Jose when Sampras beat him. Couple body blows from Rafter these last 2 points on the serve. Jam Agassi.
Rafter is still alive, but only just. Agassi will serve for the match after this. 2 behind 2 breaks, so he has got a chance to serve for it here, and if he doesn't succeed, he'll have another one to try to beat Patrick Rafter in the third round. Our coverage of the Newsweek Champions Cup continues tomorrow on ESPN. The quarterfinal action, listen to this, it's going to start tomorrow at 10 a.m. here in California. That's 1 o'clock Eastern time, so it's a different time. Pay attention to that. In the quarterfinals so far, you've got Enquist, you've got Ruzetsky, you've got Rios, you've got Agassi just a few points away from a place in the quarterfinal. Courier and Gamble will play. And you've got Medvedev and Lepenti also. And
you can guarantee we're going to have a tremendous match tomorrow. Agassi serving with new balls.
Not to forget Korda, number 2 seed, and Tommy Haas also to play. But don't forget tonight, Steffi Graf in her return against Lindsay Davenport of the USA. ESPN 2, 11 o'clock Eastern.
Graf has only lost 8 games in her 3 wins so far here. Steffi Graf of old looks to be back. Real test will be tonight against Davenport, though. 7 aces now for Andre Agassi.
2 points from the match for Agassi.
Served remarkably well today. Consistently well, picking his spots. He has just abused Patrick Rafter with that wide serve into the deuce court. Keeps going to it. Rafter hasn't been able to have an answer for it.
Well, you talked about it before the match. You said you expected it, and it's just what happened. 5-2, 40 love, match points for Agassi. Luke, what do you think?
Well, I think Andre Agassi came out here with a mission in mind, and that was to make a lot of returns and get the job done, and he did that in the third set.
Patrick?
I think Luke's hit it. I think Agassi picked up his game when he had to. It was crucial stages were early in that third set because Rafter really improved his play. He didn't give Agassi anything. He made Agassi earn it, but in turn, Agassi made Rafter work harder as that third set got underway, and he just had too much power and a lot of consistency today.
So Andre Agassi is through to the quarterfinal. He will take on either Jim Courier or Jan-Michael Gamble of the USA. Both of them of the USA, in fact. Great match. Agassi showing that he has still got it. The number 3 seed, Luke Jensen's with him downstairs. Let's go down to you, Luke, with Rafter.
Patrick, bad luck today. What was your strategy going in?
Well, it was obvious I had to be aggressive, and it was very important for me to serve very well. I served quite well the first 2 sets and a little bit too patchy in the third.
It seemed like you had the momentum after the second set. You were coming in, really taking charge with his second serve return, with your second serve return. It seemed like he stepped it up.
Yeah, he picked up his intensity in the third set, and I just came out serving really badly in the beginning of the third set, and he'll make you pay if you don't serve very well. And you know, and he's very good at that.
Are you happy with your form so far in 98?
No, not really, but that's probably the first 2 sets was the best I've hit the ball all year anyway. I just hope that 98 will get better.
All right, mate. Good luck in the doubles and at Lipton. Back to you, Cliff.
Thank you, Luke. We'll be back with an interview with Andre Agassi when we come back with our continuing live coverage of the Newsweek Champions Cup. Today, Agassi over the US Open champ, Rafter. First round over Todd Woodbridge, and then Sergio Bruguera, the number 14 seed, and then today over Patrick Rafter, the number 3 seed, and he's downstairs with Luke Jensen. Luke?
Andre, did you feel going into this match, were you thinking about the US Open?
Well, I was thinking of it so far as to know what he really does well and what he did against me there, but more than anything, I'm in much better shape now. I'm moving better, and there's a lot of points today where I got a decent return. He hit a pretty good volley, and I was quick enough to get there and make a good shot, and that was the difference today.
I was really happy with your serving. It seemed like when you needed a big serve, you were popping it.
Yeah, my serve has improved quite a bit, but that's not what I rely on. I rely on, you know, breaking people down from the backcourt, and today I felt like I just stayed focused when I could have lost a little bit on a ridiculous overrule, but you know.
Whoa. It seemed like after that overrule, the second set was over, you lost a little momentum, but right from the first point of the third, you really picked it up and stuck it to him.
Well, you have to up your intensity in the third. You can't hope that somebody loses the match, especially when you're playing against somebody who's won the U.S. Open. I mean, he knows how to win, and in the third set, it's about who's going to win it, not who's not going to lose it. And so I felt like I had to step it up, and I got an early break and managed to just kind of play confidently from there.
Well, now you have Gamble or Courier. What do you think of that matchup?
Well, that's going to be a good one. I mean, Jean-Michael Gamble is a young American player who's just playing so well. I've already played him twice this week. I'm going to be interested to see this match. And you know one thing, I'm going to show up ready to go.
All right, A-Train, go get him, baby. Back to you, Cliff.
Thank you, Luke. The A-Train, Andre Agassi, double A. And boy, he is chugging along very solidly this year. He has not lost a singles match since the Australian Open Championship. He has won 2 tournaments so far. We'll be back after this. An outstanding match, actually. Patrick McEnroe, Andre Agassi over Patrick Rafter in 3 sets, winning it easily in the third. Let us now check up on how the draw stands. There are 8 players left, and let's just take a look and see. I'd like some predictions from you on the last 8.
You got it, Cliff. There's some big hitters in here. Sampras and Mooster. I think I'll go with Sampras in that match. That'll be tonight. Medvedev against one of the Cinderellas, Nicolas Lepenti. I think Medvedev, a little too much experience, good hard court game. I think he'll win that. I gotta like Sampras getting through to the semifinal out of that half of the draw. And then a couple big bombers here. Thomas Enquist, who's playing exceptionally well. He hasn't lost his set. Took out Ullrich in straights against Greg Rusedski, the big serving left-hander.
Who do you like?
I think I'm going to go with Enquist in that one. I think he's playing very solid, consistent.
You've been talking a lot about Enquist. You like him, don't you?
I like the way he's been playing lately. Andre Agassi over Patrick Rafter. We just saw that in 3. And then the match that's coming up next year, we won't see that, unfortunately. But we'll see the winner of that match, Courier and Gamble, going up against Andre Agassi. I think Courier is going to sneak that out, but it's going to be tight, I think. Right. Marcelo Rios took out Kiefer pretty easily. And then how about you, Cliff? What do you think, Haas or Korda?
I like a Korda in that one, but I kind of like Andre Agassi to get to the final, to tell you the truth. Don't forget to be with us tonight for the State Farm Everett Cup at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 8 o'clock out here on the West Coast. Steffi Graf is making her return versus the defending champ, Lindsay Davenport. And that will be on ESPN2 tonight. So join us for that, everybody. Tomorrow, Newsweek Champions Cup continues, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Men's quarterfinal action for Luke Jensen and Patrick McEnroe. I'm Cliff Drysdale. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Coming up next on ESPN, a Sports Center NCAA special. Chris Fowler will be there, Digger Phelps, Dick Vitale, and Quinn Buckner. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide